Hello, this is Deborah. So I wanted to show you the difference a little flexibility brings. If you have a little bit of time, then you can make it quite a bit more on your house by netting about 20 to 30% more. Selling it through our program, the rent to own program, versus selling through an agent. So here's our comparison sheet, and I wanted to just go over a couple of points here to give you an idea of your savings and where the savings are coming from. So when you're selling through an agent, we'll focus on this side. This is selling through an agent through the MLS. Um, the full retail market value may be 210, so say that's the top comp in the area, top comparative value or comparative sold in the area. But the agent is going to list it a little bit lower to be competitive with the market. And so now you have it listed for 199,000, but the offers that come in are not going to be 199,000. They're typically going to be a little bit less. Everyone's trying to save some money, and those buyers also want to save a bit of money. So they're going to submit offers that are lower than your asking price. And so once you accept one of them, you're already working below your asking price. But in this market now, you may be able to get that asking price. But so if it remains competitive, yes, you'll most likely get your asking price. But you still have other expenses along the way. So typically, the agents are going to, the seller is going to be paying all of the commissions, agent commissions, and they're typically between 5 and 7%. And in Maryland, I've seen it primarily around 6%. So that is an expense of $11,000. And then the buyers are going to want some assistance with their closing costs. And so they are going to ask, between 4 and 6%. That's typical in the area. So say if they do ask for their maximum 6%, that's another $11,000 expense for the seller. And then each the seller and buyer have closing costs. And so your closing costs are going to be the typical 2%. And the buyer also has their closing costs. And so that's another expense of $3,700. And then now you have the contract. The house is under contract, and then the buyer brings in their home inspector. The home inspector finds some issues that they want the seller to deal with. And so those expenses can vary. I've sold a home in the past where we ended up paying $6,000 for just a bunch of minor repairs that we had to do, and it was an old house, so we had to add railings in the rear door, which goes down into the basement. And so in the past, since it was built in the 20s, 30s, they didn't have any railings at the top. So we had to add railings to protect that opening going down. So expenses for different types of repairs, it's always up in the air. You never know what it's going to be until they go looking through the house, and they're going to find things that they want to have repaired. So because you've now had this, you've marketed the property, it took you a while to figure out who you wanted, which buyer you wanted to work with, whichever buyer had the better deal for you. And so now that you've been under contract, you're going to close and you have your closing set, and now they want all these repairs done. Most likely you're going to do these repairs because you don't want to have to go through this whole process again. And now it takes 45 days for closing in Maryland. Once upon a time, it was not so long ago, actually, it was 30 days. But now there are some new restrictions, and they want to make certain that every one of the players here, all the stockholders, have all their paperwork in order. So they've extended it to 45 days. So now you have this whole process taking you 45 days. So in the end, you will then you'll get about 77% of your retail price that you've sold it for. And so once you subtract the mortgage, then you are netting $11,000. So after all that hard work and owning that property for how many years, this is what you're walking away from the table with. So let's look now. If you had a little bit of flexibility, then how much would you make going through our program? Well, you would net between 20 and 30% more just if you have a little bit of time to wait to sell. And so that's a whole premise of our program is just if you can wait a little bit. So typically for us, one of our terms that we like to work with a lot is 18 months. But you are welcome to choose whatever terms you want. We don't like to go beyond 24 months because then the tenant buyer starts, they may lose interest. And if they're working hard in the beginning and trying to get that, it's only their credit rating that needs to be improved, and they're working hard to get it there. Well, we don't want that to linger, that enthusiasm to dissipate. We want to capture it up front when they're working hard. They're moving on getting everything they need to get to closing. And we don't want them to end up, purchasing anything that's gonna affect the credit rating. So this is why we like the sweet point is 18 months for us. But we'll work beyond 18 months, but we don't like to go any like any time after 24 months. Then it's getting a little risky for them to actually close on the house. So anyway, so let's look at this side. So we market your house. So we are not real estate agents, but because we'll have your permission to market your house, we will market it for the highest comp in the area, and that's the highest market price in the area for that particular house. And doing that, it allows us to also compensate for, the down the road price, what the market value may be in 9 to 24 months. So that's how we're able to market at the retail market value. And so we list it at that price, right? And then we're marketing, and all these potential tenant buyers are looking. And so they know that if they want the house, this is the price that they're going to pay. They understand that. So there are two values for them. It's the retail price that they're going to be asked to pay once they exercise their option to purchase. And then the second price that they are interested in is the rents. But we also list the down payment as well. So they have to have the money to put down a down payment. So our down payment's typically between 3.5% and 5%. And to get an FHA loan, the minimum is 3.5%. And this is the reason why we start at 3.5% for our option down payments. And the option down payment, this is also our fee, and it's also called a lease option fee. And this is how we get paid to get you that tenant buyer, and we qualify them. We make certain that they are very close to going to closing, and so they're very close to going to closing for you, and they're going to treat your house like they're already owners. So this is one reason why we really love our tenant buyers. have such an interest in being homeowners that they're going to treat your house well. So anyway, so this is what we need for the tenant buyers. We also collect the first month's rent, and that is going to go to the seller. So we have this money goes into escrow. The option fee and the first month's rent goes into escrow, and then as we market the property and the property is shown by either the seller or our company, whichever works. If you're not in the local area, then we will show the house for you. And so one thing you have to know as well is, even though these potential tenant buyers may love the house, we are not sending anyone over to look at the house unless they are qualified to purchase it at this purchase price. And so we're not just sending anyone over, we're sending potential tenant buyers, potential homeowners that can afford this price that we listed at. So, and then when they do exercise their option to purchase, then they're not going to ask for seller help, because what the contract also states that they are buying this house as is. So they are also not asking for any seller help. And they are they are paying for all the closing costs that are allowed by the mortgage lender that they're going to work with. And so typically that's going to be a FHA mortgage lender. And like I said, that's why we focus on minimum of 3.5% up here. Now, if the house is only a $100,000 house, we do have a minimum option fee of $5,000. So I just have to let you know that as well. If your house is actually closer to 100,000, then we are going to ask for a minimum of 5,000 for the option fee down payment. So anyway, like I said, they're going to take it as is. So in the end, they are paying 96% of the retail value. Now this down payment applies towards their down payment when they go for their mortgage. And so that's another thing you need to remember as well. And so what you end up netting is $51,000. And it's quite a big difference between the selling through the agent and selling it via rent to own if you have just a little bit of flexibility. And so the difference is $40,000. So, and you also make some cash flow while you're waiting. So, an example would be if you're paying $1,650 a month, say this would be the rent we've agreed upon that would be the best rent for them to pay. And so we're also looking to make certain that the rent is closer to what the tenant buyer's mortgage payments will be, because that'll look better to the lender. The lender wants to see that they're able to make these monthly payments that are close to what their mortgage is going to be, and that's positive for those tenant buyers, for their lenders. So anyway, and so your mortgage payment, maybe let's say $950, and you have homeowners association dues. You just subtract these two expenses, and then you're left with $670 worth of cash flow. Now, say if they exercise their option to buy in 10 months, then you've made $6,700 in cash flow during those 10 months. And in addition to that, while this is being rented out, you're also paying down the principal of your mortgage. And so that's where this number comes from. We're assuming that this may be $330 of the mortgage payment is principal, and over 10 months time you've paid down $3,300, so that's another savings of $10,000 total. And so your overall difference is $50,000. So, like I said, if you have a little bit of flexibility, this is a really nice option to go for. And if you have any other additional questions, please let us know. We are always available and ready to answer any questions. Thank you and have a good day.